Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back. So today we had some corrections happening in Bitcoin, some of the Bitcoin miners as well. Some of the miners, on the other hand, did actually pretty good today. We'll take a look at obviously those that did well. Hive, CleanSpark, IREN as well did pretty good today overall, considering where Bitcoin was going down. So we'll take a look at what's going on with the miners and Bitcoin as well. We'll take a look at Cipher. They provided their production update for September. It was actually pretty good there. We also have IREN. They provided two updates actually today. One in the morning about getting more customers for their GPUs, and the other update towards the end of the day was about them doing convertible notes, right? They're offering that at 875 million right now, with the option for investors to add on another 125 million. I think that's going to get oversubscribed. We're probably looking at between 1.5 billion and 1.7 billion when it's all said and done. But we will take a look at that. We also have some stories on Oracle, XAI, CleanSpark as well. We'll take a look at all those also and then get into Q&A. So it's going to be pretty packed here. And as always, you guys know this, not financial advice for now only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out. And let's take a look at what happened here today with Bitcoin. Bitcoin obviously had a correction day. We've been flying kind of high here, with Bitcoin getting to a new all-time high yesterday at 126,296. We closed out, obviously, yesterday a little bit lower than that. We closed out at 124,720. And then today we just went up a little bit here. We got to a high of 125,226, and we came back down afterwards. Not sure why, other than, we've had a nice rally here over the last probably 7, 8, 10 days or so on Bitcoin going up to new all-time highs. So a little profit taking possibly happening there at that point on this one. But the markets were down also today. All of them, Dow Jones, NASDAQ, the S&P, Russell 2000 was all down today for the most part. And yeah, Bitcoin, Ethereum was all down today. So I'm guessing it's just profit taking here on that one. Not much else that I saw, at least, unless you guys saw something that I didn't see. Right, so Ethereum was also down today. It was down approximately 5% here. It was closed at 4,449 after going up a little bit higher here in the morning and then coming back down here. The miners were all rocketing in the morning hours, right? Pre-trading hours. All of these guys were up nicely. And then we had gaps in a lot of these guys as well. And the gaps ended up getting filled relatively quickly within like the first 2 hours of trading in the morning. So Bitfarms still squeaked out a win here nonetheless. I mean, you can see Bitfarms got to a high of 380 before coming back way down there. So that one was up just 0.29% here. The RSI on that one looks on the daily much better than where it was, right? It got to a new high here, recent high at least, maybe even a 52-week high on them. Last time they were at this price point was back here in February of 2024. Wow, okay, that's going quite a ways back there. Yeah, so that's going far, far back. So definitely a 52-week high for them with 380. And things have pulled back here. RSI still looking pretty good here on that one. 75, obviously can still run up higher, even with the RSI being above 70 there, so I'm not too concerned about that. If we look at the weekly chart on it also, that one's come back down. It's come back up a little bit here, but still, it can definitely run hot for a while before it has to cool off there. And it could go actually sideways for a while the price is actually going up there on that one. And it's the same case for all these guys here. BitDeer was down a little bit today, 1.34%. It was down much further. A lot of these guys did the same thing when they went down quite hard, and then they kind of came back up a little bit here. RSI on that one still looks good on the daily, right? On the weekly, we can see that it's still under 70 here, so it still definitely has a little more room to run as well. If we look at next here, we'll take a look at Kango. Kango's down 5.8% today. RSI still looks fine on that one, so I'm sure it's fine on the weekly. Cipher was up 2.67% after being down quite a bit also today. It reached a new high yesterday. But the RSI is right now, what is it at? 75 or so, roughly. So, I mean, you can see it here, right, where the RSI was above 70 mark for quite a while, and yet the price continued to go up here. So we're still fine on that one. CleanSpark, same thing, was up nicely today, 3.04% after being up much higher to $18.87. RSI on that one also, same thing, right? We can definitely see RSI right now is at about 80. We can still run up higher here for a little bit while. It could be quite a while. We don't know. But I'm not too concerned about it right now. CORZ was actually down 4.52%. There was a story that came out today on CoreWeave, right, about they will not renegotiate the terms of the deal for the buyout of Core Scientific there. I don't know if that's the reason why the stock fell down, but my idea or my thinking behind it was the deal was already set, right? Let's see if it gets approved by shareholders. If it doesn't get approved at shareholders, then at that point you would go in and actually renegotiate a deal if you wanted to. But you would not renegotiate before investors had a chance to vote on it. So that was kind of expected, right? I didn't expect them to renegotiate the deal before the shareholders had a vote there. Hive had another fantastic day today. It was up 11.31% today, right? We saw it open up much higher, fill the gap, come back up here. So that one had a great day. RSI is kind of getting high there on 86. This is the highest we've seen on the RSI for the miners yet. And it has obviously, it could still obviously run a little bit hotter here for a while longer here. So I don't think that's still an issue here. Let's take a look at the weekly on that one. And the weekly is getting kind of hot. So we may see a little bit of a correction on Hive here happening in the next couple of days to a week or so. Based on that, because the RSI on that one is also at 80 right now. Going next to Hut 8 here really quick. They were up just a little bit here, 0.75% after being down much more. They were down to $38 roughly, and they bounced back up here. They were also higher at 43.41. RSI still looks good on them. They're at 71 roughly. You got plenty of room to run. IREN continues to run hot here. It was up 6.81% today, closed at 61 and 68. It was up to $63.40. It is down a little bit in the after hours right now because of the convertible notes. That's kind of to be expected there. RSI on that one is pretty hot too as well, 83.92. And we have seen that where it got to that point, it kind of corrected for a couple of days and then started to continue to run up higher here. On the weekly, we can see that it is definitely getting hot there. It is at 92. But again, it could potentially run hotter this way for a while longer here, unless we see maybe a little bit of a correction here on that one, because this thing has had a fantastic run up here. Last couple ones that we do have here is Mara. Mara was down 1.56%. RSI looks fine. Not concerned on that one. Riot was down 0.42% here. RSI is still looking pretty good up on 74, right? It's been kind of running right around that range here while the price has been going up. So I love seeing that. And then Wolf was up 1.09% today. RSI, same thing, right? It peaked here back in August. RSI has been kind of coming down here while the prices have been actually going up here. So that's a good sign also. I like seeing that. So that's the miners more or less on the RSIs. See how they're doing right now. As far as the Bitcoin holding companies, MicroStrategy was down 8.7% today. Quite the big drop on that one. Galaxy was up actually 1.96%. This thing has been actually doing really well also recently. Block was up just a little bit, 1.59%. Coin was down 2.6%. Metaplanet was down 5.45%. Exodus was down 6.28%. Nexon was up 0.3%. Semler was down 7.77%. So maybe unlucky 777s. Phoenix was up a little bit, 3.05%, and GameStop was down another 2.79% here over the last 4 days. So this thing has been coming down recently, at least. Small miners, on the other hand, they were all down except for Mawson. Mawson, for some reason, was up 23% today. It's had a fantastic run here in the last couple, 5 trading days or so. It's up huge here. With the small miners, I always say they're easy to manipulate to the upside and to the downside. So be wary of that always. Okay, and let's see what else we got here. We got Canada being down. Obviously, all this majority of the small miners were down here. Minor ETFs, BitQ was down just a little bit, 0.64%. BKCH was up 0.62%. DAP was down 0.44%. And WGMI continues to rally up here, being up 2.08% after being down much lower here. That one reached a new 52-week high as well at $54 there. The Ethereum holding companies, BMNR was down 6.3%, Bit Digital was down 1%, BTC was down 0.51%, Game was down 5.5%, and SBIT was down 7.64%. Those didn't do that well today. Another Bitcoin miner here, ABTC, was down 4.9%. Wi-Fi, which is Bit Digital's sister company there, 0.88% down. Open was actually up a little bit here today, 0.11%. Oracle was down 2.52%. It's down much further on the news. Oracle also had news come out. We'll talk about that in a second. On them that their profits are razor thin when it comes to HPC AI or AI. Nibius was down 5.79%. I think that also was the result of Oracle there. Soluna was up actually 12.78%, bounced back up a little bit here after having 3 straight day of losses. So that one's kind of getting back up there a little bit. Backed was down 5.07%, and FR Fermi was up 6.69%. This is a new AI company that came on public here within the last week. That we're kind of keeping an eye on and see how that one's doing overall. So crazy day in the markets. A little bit of a correction happening, which is fine. And then the miners here in the after hours right now, you can see BitDeer is actually down about 2% roughly. Bitfarms is up another 1.75% roughly as well. Cipher right now is down just a little bit, 0.44%. CleanSpark is up another 1.34%, so it's $18.20. This thing continues to go up nicely here for us. CORZ Scientific is down another 0.12%. Hive Digital is up another 0.65 after having a nice day today. Hut 8 is down 0.22%. IREN, with the news of convertible notes, it's down actually only now. A lot of trading happening here in the after hours still. Where is it at? Where will it end up at? Down only 1.1%. So that's actually not too bad. Mara is down 0.69%. Riot is actually going to be up 0.33%. TeraWolf is, let's see where that one comes in at, 0.17% down. It's not bad. And Soluna, one of the ones that we've been watching here, is actually up only about 3%. So overall, 12% gain today and another 3%. That's actually pretty good for that one going forward here. Bitcoin for the month of October is only up 6.66%. That's not a good number there. You don't like seeing that number. Hopefully we continue to go up here further on in October. A little cool off happening today, which is fine. Bitcoin ETF inflows, huge day yesterday. Obviously, we had 970 million in IBIT inflows. We had a total of 1.2 billion buying up Bitcoin there. Correction day happening today here a little bit. Looks like right now we're down 23.8 million without having BlackRock reporting here. We'll see where BlackRock comes in. We'll see if it's positive or negative here. All right, getting to the news stories that we do have here. This is from Anissa. I can't pronounce that name, but Scoop. Oracle is pivoting hard into the business of renting out NVIDIA GPUs to customers like OpenAI, Meta, and XAI. But internal documents show the fastest growing new biz has razor-thin profit margins. So much detail in the Scoop with Anita Ramaswamy. The information article here, the big thing is Oracle became the best performing mega cap stock of 2025 after its executives said last month that the one sleepy database firm will generate an astonishing $381 billion in revenue from renting out specialized cloud services to OpenAI and other artificial intelligence developers over the next 5 fiscal years. But internal documents show the fast-growing cloud business has had razor-thin gross profit margins in the past year or so, lower than many equity analysts have estimated. That could raise questions about whether the AI cloud expansion undertaken by Oracle and its rivals will affect profitability and sustain investors' expectations. Some of the numbers that I saw were around like 18% profit margins. The only thing I can maybe talk about that a little bit is they don't own always all of their vertical stack, right? They don't always own the infrastructure, the power, all that stuff that goes into it. So that's why a lot of times they're also, co-locating, doing co-location deals, things like that. That's where the margins are getting squeezed on, I think. And plus, you're also dealing with OpenAI, right? You're getting these large contracts. You're going to have your margins be squeezed more so on those than if you deal with smaller customers, enterprise customers, things like that. So that's kind of what I would expect, right? The margins would get squeezed more because you are providing a lot of data, a lot of AI for large customers. They're going to expect a little bit of a discount there compared to somebody else that is not that large. That's just kind of my take on it. We'll see how this plays out, though. But the miners with AI obviously suffered a little bit here today, and then they kind of bounced back up here. Next here, we got from Matthew Schultz, the CEO of CleanSpark here. This is a little blurb from Fox Business here. He says, going to start a new hashtag open to feedback. America's land and tokenization energy compute company with $1.5 billion in American mined Bitcoin and a team of 300 professionals managing hundreds of megawatts and 50 exahash. That's a pretty long hashtag there. But here, take a listen to this exchange here on Fox Business.
I actually bought some AI stocks this morning, and I'll give you one of them, CleanSpark, that's trading at about 12 times earnings. That's pretty cheap.
12 times earnings for an AI stock?
Well, and it's also, by the way, a miner. It's the lowest cost Bitcoin miner in the country. CleanSpark, CLSK, and they have some excess capacity that they are now starting to divert to AI. And the AI stocks, to Dagan's point, fair enough, are trading 40 and 50 times earnings, because the growth is there, because the promise of what AI can mean, and you start to get a re-rating of a stock. So actually, there's some names that are cheap.
Okay, so yeah, we're obviously seeing a re-rating in a lot of these guys here, right? Hive, Bitfarms, IREN, obviously, Cipher as well. All these other guys that are in this, we're just getting a re-rating on these, especially when they move into HPCI. So that's great news for Hive, or not Hive, for CleanSpark, obviously getting mentioned here. We're seeing more and more of them. Their name getting mentioned in Fox Business, CNBC as well. So that's great because that gets the name out, obviously, to more investors. More investors learn about them, the more they're likely to buy into it as well. And that's going to help, obviously, us being early into CleanSpark, IREN, Cipher, Bitfarms, Hive, and others, where we're going to obviously reap the rewards on it more so than people getting into it now. So that's great. Next here, we got NVIDIA is going to take up to a $2 billion equity stake in Elon Musk's XAI. Bloomberg reports, obviously, we talked about XAI yesterday. They're wanting to get to like 1 million GPUs or something like that, right? They're targeting later on this year, probably not this year, probably next year and year beyond that, but I think they're going to get there relatively quickly. But this is just another portion of that where NVIDIA is going to take a $2 billion equity stake in them. XAI, if you guys don't use it, you probably should use it. I use a couple of these AI models. Grok is one of them, which is from XAI. And then you also have Gemini, you got OpenAI, obviously, you got Perplexity, you got a bunch of them out there, right? You should be using at least a couple of them to get a good feel for all of these, right? Some are better than others, but they're all improving tremendously here, which is great to see. Next, we got from Daniel Newman here, IREN and Cipher enthusiasm is being driven by the insatiable demand for AI capacity, and there is no demand ceiling at this point. Why? I have positions in both. I have positions in both as well, but let's take a quick listen here as far as what Fox Business had to say on them.
Talking about the role of miners, these companies essentially have changed their model to a degree, right? They were crypto miners for the most part, and now they're a critical part of this AI build.
Yeah, these are two that we're looking at very closely. IREN today had a big news drop. You know, they've got 23,000 GPUs, 500 million of ARR. They were a little opaque about who the CSP is. And then, of course, you heard Cipher Mining had a deal that connected them to Google.
Right.
And so, look, the overall is that there is so much demand that any of these companies, and there's many more of these miners, any of these companies that can deliver capacity are going to sell all that capacity. And it's the same reason that Sam Altman's out there making deals with every chip company, because he's going to need every chip he can get his hands on.
By the way, the future, the 15 is just absolutely phenomenal. Everyone should go to your website and check it out, Dan.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, OpenAI is going to be making deals with anybody and everybody that they can. They need as many chips as they can. Same thing with XAI. They're, trying to get 1 million GPUs. That's just insane. But everybody's trying to push for that super intelligence or general intelligence when it comes to AI. And it's a race right now. They're all trying to get there. One that does get there and succeeds is going to have a lot of fortune in the future there, possibly. Okay, so keep an eye on those guys as well. I wish XAI was public. We could have invested in that. I wish, oh gosh, what's it called? SpaceX. I wish SpaceX was public. I wish we could invest in that one as well. But we can't. So we'll keep an eye on those guys for sure. All right, next, a couple updates from the miners that we do have here. This is from IREN here. IREN secures new multi-year AI contracts. So today they announced it has signed additional multi-year cloud services contracts with leading AI companies for NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs deployments. We don't know who those customers are. I'm guessing those are like enterprise customers, right? Not quite, maybe not quite hyperscalers, but somewhere in between, maybe a tier below hyperscalers. IREN recently expanded its AI cloud capacity and remains on track to achieve 500 million in annualized run rate from 23,000 GPUs currently operating and on order by the end of Q1 of 2026. To date, customer contracts have been secured for 11,000 of the 23,000 GPUs, representing approximately 225 million in AI cloud annual run rate, expected to be operational by the end of 2025, so within the next 3 months. And then NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs continue to be contracted ahead of the delivery on an average term of 2 years at pricing that supports a roughly 2-year revenue payback. So that's actually really good there as well. Beyond the initial 23,000 GPUs, IREN is actively engaging with existing and prospective customers through the site tours, technical diligence, and commercial negotiations. British Columbia campuses, together with the Horizon 1 and 2 data centers under construction in Childress, provide capacity for more than 100,000 GPUs. Right, so that they're at 23,000 at 500, so multiply that times 5. You're looking at 2.5 billion in annual run rate potential there, roughly, if they can get all 100,000 GPUs in there and get customers for those as well. In addition, IREN's 2,910 megawatt secured power and land portfolio offers significant expansion potential, which is also subject to ongoing customer discussions. So a lot of good things happening for them here. And then our ability to rapidly transition from ASICs to GPUs across the British Columbia campuses and the speed at which we're building Horizon 1 and 2 demonstrates how IREN is uniquely positioned to meet accelerating demand for AI compute, said Daniel Roberts, co-founder and co-CEO of IREN, which is true. And then lastly, but unfortunately this is going to be the case here with more and more miners potentially, with the business continuing to evolve, IREN will transition to a standardized reporting process consistent with industry peers, and monthly operating updates will be discontinued. So I'm sad about that. I wish they would continue those. They could always provide as far as where are they with GPU installments, right? Where are they at? That is, the more data investors have, I think the better it is. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of this, right? I like the data that's coming in monthly here. I'm not a big fan of President Trump there trying to see if maybe the public companies don't have to report every 3 months, but instead every 6 months. I'm not a big fan of that. I think the lack of transparency and lack of accountability to the companies there is not a good thing for investors, more so. I actually like more data. The more, the better. We can see where things are going, right? I think you guys would agree with that. And especially in the day and age that we live in now, where computers and everything else is so prevalent. Everybody's got one. I mean, you have a supercomputer basically in your pocket right now. The ability to generate reports should not take more than half an hour to an hour at most for your monthly production updates. And that goes for all companies, I think, right? With the ERP systems that are in place right now, I would be pushing for more transparency by these public companies than ever before, because it's not the same as it was back when these laws were enacted for reporting purposes, right? Back then, they didn't have these computers that could generate these things within minutes, within seconds, actually. So I would like to see the SEC change some of that stuff to where the companies have to report certain information on a monthly basis, right? How are your sales doing? How are, things like that. How many customers you have? Easy things that you can report on relatively quickly. That gives customers, or that gives investors more data, more data points, and they can see what's going on in the company sooner than later, which if the SEC is there to protect shareholders and investors, that would be the way to go, not to go to 6 months reporting. That would be, I think, a bad thing. That's just my take on it. Maybe you guys agree with that, maybe you don't, but that's kind of where I stand on it. So it is unfortunate that they will be transitioning to reporting every 3 months. We won't be able to keep an eye on them as well as we have in the past. We will try, or at least I will try to figure out a way to keep track of them still. We may use estimates for their Bitcoin production and things like that, just so we have a rough idea, more or less. We know what their production has been like in the past. The only bad thing is with them moving their ASICs from one sites to other sites, we don't know what their hash rate is for the month, right? They're talking about keeping it at 50 exahash, so we'll see. But we'll see if we can figure out a way to do that, but we're obviously seeing more and more companies do that as well. I mean, we've seen now IREN, we've seen CORZ Scientific, Hut 8, we've seen it also with Bitfarms, with TeraWolf. We're seeing more and more of these companies transitioning into this, and it's unfortunate. That's just my take on it. All right, that's part one of IREN here. The next part is obviously them doing another convertible offering here. So today they announced an intention to offer, subject to market and other conditions, $875 million aggregate principal amount of convertible senior notes due 2031. Didn't state what the percentage rate was on this. At least we don't know yet. IREN also expects to grant the initial purchases of the notes and an option to purchase for settlement within a period of 13 days from and including the date of the notes are first issued, up to an additional $125 million principal amount of notes. Like I said, I think this is going to get oversubscribed. I think we'll probably get to 1.5 billion to maybe 1.7 billion, maybe even higher than that. IREN is obviously the queen, right? It's a beast right now. So I think the oversubscription is going to be definitely a play there. Description of the notes here. So the notes will be senior unsecured obligation of IREN, will occur interest payable semi-annually in arrears, and will mature on July 1st, 2031. Unless earlier repurchased, redeemed, or converted, note holders will have the right to convert their notes in certain circumstances and during specific periods. IREN will settle conversions by paying or delivering, as the case may be, cash, its ordinary shares, or combination of cash and its ordinary shares at its election, right? So pretty standard boilerplate when it comes to these convertible notes here. Use of proceeds. IREN intends to use a portion of the net proceeds from the offering to fund the cost of entering into the capped call transactions as described below, right? So they're doing that. IREN intends to use the remainder of the net proceeds for general corporate purposes and working capital. If the initial purchasers exercise their option to purchase additional notes, IREN intends to use a portion of additional net proceeds to fund the cost of entering into additional capped call transactions as described below. Okay, we know, we've heard this many times before. So here's what I would expect. In the next couple of days, we might be going down on IREN here as the investors are getting to the notes. That we've seen that with Terrible, we've seen that with Cipher, we've seen that with others as well. Anytime they do that, they try to bring the stock price down here. At that point, I think that's going to be a great buying opportunity if you haven't gotten into IREN here recently. That would be a great time to get in, possibly, right? Not financial advice. And then we'll probably see, obviously, the stock rebound from there once all of the investors are going to be getting into these convertible notes, are pleased with where they are at in price, and then we'll continue to go up here. But the proceeds will probably be used for, obviously, I'm thinking, and so is we can go into here right now next because this kind of flows right into it. Biasum, he talks about it as well here. IREN announces convert, which will probably raise up to 1.5 billion at closing, including option. It will be hugely oversubscribed, maybe even 8 to 10x, considering outstanding are trading 3x nominal. Meanwhile, 2025 ATM is over. So I haven't heard this. I haven't seen anything on that yet. So that's new to me. If that is true, that's awesome. The entire 1 billion has been raised, possibly this morning at open. The last shares were sold. I don't know about this. I don't know where he's getting that information. It would be nice if he actually provided something on that. This 2025 ATM has been handled perfectly, in my opinion. Best of all, congrats. Yeah, if they pulled a large portion of it towards when the price was above $20 and beyond, yeah, congrats. That's a great way to do it. So they might be sitting on about $1 billion in cash there. Plus, if they get 1.5 billion roughly here, they're going to be looking at about 2.5 billion potentially as well. Hence, it is now time to expect more GPU announcements as acquired, maybe later this week or next week. That would be fantastic if they do announce something on that, that they are getting more GPUs here. He's guessing 25,000 GPUs, if not 30,000, maybe even 37,000 to round up Queen's owned GPU offering it to 60,000, right? So if they're at 23,000 now, if they add an additional 37,000, that would get them to 60,000 GPUs at that point. And then the annual AI cloud revenue is probably higher than BTC mining revenues after these added GPUs installed, contracted out. Great news, investors will hugely appreciate. I would agree with there as well. And demand is obviously booming. Queen in action for meeting such increases explosive demand. Queen's growth is accelerating onwards and upwards. I would agree, right? But for the next day or two or maybe 3, we might see some downtrend in IREN shares as they try to bring down the price of the stock there. Okay. Overall, I'm extremely pleased, obviously, the way that IREN, Dan, and company there are operating. And I'm holding on for much higher price targets here, potentially, from what we've seen here, right? We're still, we still have a ways to go, I believe. Right? As long as they continue to execute on getting more GPUs installed and all that stuff, that's going to be, it's going to be freaking awesome, just to be blunt here, really. All right, so that's it on IREN there. You guys can give me your thoughts on it in the discussion when we get into Q&A here. And lastly, we got Cipher here. Cipher provides their operational update as well. This is for September, so they mined a little bit more here. BTC mined was 251. It also includes their power credits. They're including that in there. It includes September power sales estimates, roughly. And then BTC sold was 158. BTC held for HODL is 1,500 there, so that increased a little bit as well. And their month-end operating hash rate increased to 23.6. Right, there's not much as far as other details here. They don't talk about really the HPC AI side of things in here. We can see their data center. This is, which site is this? This is latest generation miners of Black Pearl. Phase 1 are now delivering 10.1 exahash of self-mining hash rate. That is actually a really nice and clean facility there for Bitcoin mining, which could be also possibly transitioned over into HPCI. So, and then here we have a picture of Barbara Lake. Construction is underway. And that's basically it for them. So let's take a look at what we have here for Cipher here. Cipher's got about 383 million shares outstanding, market cap right now almost 2 billion as it is. They've had a nice run up here in the last 12 weeks. And they're up 131% from that. From 8 weeks ago, they're up 182%. From 4 weeks ago, they're up 35%. And last week, they were up 28%. So, I mean, you really can't complain on Cipher here. They've been doing really well here for shareholders. They still have a little bit of growth here left. I believe their target is to 23 or 25 exahash. I think it's 23 something exahash. So they have a little bit more growth here in the next couple of months. They saw a little bit of growth here this month here. Bitcoin mined here increased. This is their self-mined BTC 222.69. I'm subtracting what they possibly got from their joint ventures. And this is just for their self-mining, not including any of the Bitcoin that was for power sales or anything like that. Revenue roughly to be about 25.65 million there. BTC HODL increasing here again, which is nice to see, to 1.5. Their estimated annual run rate right now is 307 million from Bitcoin mining alone, not including the 300 million a year that they're going to get from HPCI for Fluid Stack. Total hash rate with JV is at 21.9. Bitcoin sold 158, right? That's valued about 17.8 million there. BTC per hash efficiency is improved a little bit here to 11.1 for them over the month. And going down here to institutions and analysts, that actually came down here. I was surprised to see this. Institutions went down 324. That should have been 324. It didn't go down that much. 324. Shares also went down a little bit here as well. That shouldn't be 274 million. It should be only, no, that is right, 274 million. So shares did come down to 274 million from 286 million. Percentage owned went down to 70.85% from 76%. We now have, however, 8 strong buy ratings, 3 buy ratings, 2 hold ratings, 0 underperform, 0 sells, and we have a high price target on them at $42 compared to the $9 that we had before here. So that's definitely much higher than even where I have them right now. The average went up to $16.88 and the low went up to $9 for them. On that, as far as operational days in September here, I have about 24 and a quarter days roughly. The new miners that I got installed are operating about 20 days roughly, give or take a little bit. But that got us to obviously the 27.615 million, which coincides with the amount here for the total amount of Bitcoin that they got from JVs and everything else. All right, so based on that, where do I see them? Well, I kind of have them right now with the HPCI run rate of 300 million, the BTC AR run rate as well at 307 million, total annual run rate of 607 million. I'm between 1546 and 2318, right, with a PE of 20. Obviously, the analysts are looking at much higher here at 42, so they're definitely giving them a higher multiple there. So right now, I think they're kind of on the lower end of being fairly valued. I think they still should be higher valued from where they are right now as it is. And then if you get any other deals, right, with other customers for co-location, or if they're going to their own Neo Cloud, that is going to raise them up even more from there as it is. So yeah. Nicely done here by Cipher. Continue to grow, continue to build out, continue to get more megawatts, and shareholders will reap the rewards of that at that point. All right, but that's it. That's all I got for you guys here on that one. Let's get into Q&A here. As always, the spreadsheets and everything else that I have are available to the Patreon members. Link for that is down in the description. That's my little sales pitch there. And let's get into Q&A, and we'll go from there. Okay. Let's see if that works. That didn't work for me. That should have worked. Let me see here. All right, give me a sec while I catch up on things here. Output video off, output video on. Then I can see what's going on here. Okay. As always, questions, preface those with a question mark or a Q. I would appreciate it. I'm going to scroll up as always and work my way down, and I'll get to all your questions and comments and all of that. But it might take me a little while here, so be patient, please. All right. Talked about that. Talked about that already. Okay, let's see. All right, Victor. Question: is 25 USD possible for Cipher? Yeah, I think it is. I absolutely do think it is. SK, will today's dilution cause IREN's share price to go below 50? I don't think it's going to go that far down. I mean, we could see it go down like 55, down to $55, something like that. But it might touch 50, but I don't think it's going to go below that. I wouldn't think it will. It's not really dilute. Well, it is going to be dilution later on. But what if they're generating enough revenue to pay those converts in cash or in Bitcoin, whatever it might be? So I don't think it's. I know it's dilution in the long term, but in the short term, it could be something else. All right. SK, what is driving Hive's price, and how much higher can it go to 15? Hive, right now I have them, let me see, take a look at my numbers here really quick. Hive, I have them between 934 and 1402 is kind of where I would think they would be priced in. I think they're just getting repriced as everybody else is getting repriced right now, because they've been so undervalued here. It's been ridiculous, to be honest with you guys here. Even without having any operations in the United States, I think they should be still valued much higher here. So 15 would be on the much higher end side of things, but I think they can still definitely go to like between 8 and I would say, $12. I think that would be kind of good part for them to get to. All right, talked about that. Cat King, what's up, Seb? Miners are up good now. Bitcoin's up as well, so we're looking good. Sorry, Melon, IREN got upsized to Abilene. Did they get upsized to $1 billion? Sorry, Melon Gaming says a bill that I didn't see that part of it. Let's see here. Something up for Hive question. Something up for Hive. It's just getting repriced right now. Pitt, thanks for coming in here. Jordan, Chris sold the bottom and started shilling Filecoin. Okay, we haven't seen Chris in a long time. Cyril Lalington, loving Hive. Yeah, Hive is doing really good here. JD, congrats, Bulls. Absolutely, it's been it's been not an easy ride, but we've definitely made it. Des Micro Stats, Q4 is going to be epic. I'm loving the pullback today. Yeah, I think it was a little bit needed, right? We need a little pullback. All right, let's see. Venomedic, first time chat. Been watching 2 years following your lead. Thanks. Curious on Bitfarms play. Sell during BTC run or wait for HPC AI deal. Oh, on that one, right? We could be waiting for maybe 6 months to a year. Maybe we get a deal faster. We don't know. But that's kind of the way I would look at that one. I think it should still run with the other guys because they do have the HPC AI potential, but it might be a little bit more limited, maybe. Okay. All right. Which miners are currently safe against BTC downswings? The ones that are getting into HPC AI, or obviously we saw Cipher being up today. We saw CleanSpark being up. We saw IREN being up today. We saw quite a few of these guys being up when Bitcoin is actually down quite a bit here. In the past, if that was the case, miners would have been down, 15%, 20% on the day. With Bitcoin being down 3, 4%, whatever it was. So a lot of these guys are definitely being pulled on for different reasons than they have been in the past. Okay. All right. Victor C. Question. I don't. Cipher would have gone to 1435 during the panic sale. Oracle news. Come back up stronger. Yep. Do you know if IREN and Cipher were very strong during the BTC went to 4 to 5%? The last couple of days when it was going up, the guys were going up as well, but I think they're more being, pulled on to the upside by HPCI potential there. All right, let's see. Gary, IREN had customers pay for 11,000 GPUs, so likely multiple customers, can't really name them all. Yeah, I would agree with you there. SK, is retail buying IREN, which is driving stock price up? I think it's retail, not venture funds, but what's the other one? Hedge funds. I think all of those guys are buying it up right now. All right. Guy, is it a good entry point for CleanSpark at 18 or is it too late to enter? I don't think it's too late. Obviously, if you got into it earlier on, it would have been better, but I don't think it's too late yet. I think it can still, even at $18, I think there's a possibility they can still do at least 2x from here. That's kind of where I would look at it at that point. John Kurtz, do you have info on Hive's next earnings report? As some are saying it's going to be a huge improvement. Yeah, it is going to be a huge improvement. I mean, we can see it in the quarterly results here for Hive already as it is. If we pull this up, on my numbers here, we can see here it's actually up here even, right? Q1 was 45.61 million for them. Current quarter is estimated 82 million, so that's almost a double there. That's going to should be a good quarter for them. Now, depending where depreciation comes in, stock-based compensation, all that comes in, we'll see how it comes in. But it's definitely looking much better for them here now that they're getting more and more machines plugged in as time progresses. All right. Okay. Gary, Oracle's news shows how important being vertically stacked can compete with IREN on costs, having to pay to rent a site while IREN went up while other neoclouds dropped. Yes, I agree with you there. I think that is a big, big part of it as well. Having your own vertical stack definitely helps out tremendously. All right. Boz asks, question, Hive may be best one for very short-term trading. I don't do short-term trading, so it might be, I don't know. That's right, that got me off a little bit off guard. Howard says, I like money. I think we all like money. Let's see. Mark Johnston, do you like movies about gladiators? I do. I like the movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe. Right, that was a great movie. Some of the other ones that, what was the other one that Kings of Gods or I can't remember. It was a little bit more futuristic about you had people that were like double the size of regular people that were gods supposedly back in the day. That was a great movie. I enjoyed that greatly. But yeah. Fairfax, great to see the miners taking off. It is much needed and much wonderful to see. Gary, IREN up huge 3 days in a row. Will cool off a bit tomorrow after offering, but should recover to new highs Friday or Monday, I guess. That's kind of what I'm thinking of as well. So we're on the same boat there. The mainstream media is starting to talk about CleanSpark, my new price prediction between now and end of year, $40 to $55. Okay, that's actually pretty good. Fairfax 2, yes, CleanSpark is slowly catching on. It is, which is great to see. SK, question, will IREN oversubscribing bring price down? It might, right? It might do that, which is okay for a short term. Long term, I think we're still going to be going upwards. So I'm not too worried about that. Like I said, if you do get a dip on it, it might be a good buying opportunity at that point. Gary says, IREN keeps getting screwed. Being a miner, mining pod was pumping Reggie's JP Morgan $24 price target on YouTube today. The sooner they get away from the reject miner analysts and into better neo clouds. But again, you got to remember that Bitcoin mining is what's helping them, at least right now, to fuel their growth into HPC AI or neo cloud status there. So, and it could actually be quite profitable still, right? Yes, historically, or at least the last year or two, being a Bitcoin miner has not been fashionable. Victor C, the news about Oracle, will that affect future deals for Cipher or other miners? Well, I think they're all learning right now that, you know, these big deals with new hyperscalers, OpenAI, whatever it might be, all these other ones. Yes, you do have that locked in guarantee, more or less, that you're getting that $300 million a year, $500 million a year, whatever it might be. But you're also having to give a little bit higher discount to somebody like that than you would to somebody that's smaller, right? That's kind of why maybe IREN has shied away from it, at least to this point, right? We don't know if they're going to get a deal with some hyperscaler for a co-location deal or something like that, right? So, yeah. All right, Mark, convertible note is much better than dilution because it's for future and payback is stock-based. I don't know why market doesn't like it. Because it's, again, dilution, right? If the stock doesn't do well or stock goes down, then you're talking about a heck of a lot more dilution. But if the stock does fantastically and the stock goes to, you know, several $100s, whatever it might be, then yeah, the dilution is much less at that point. All right. Capitalist Rebel, Seb, is IREN, CleanSpark, and few other long-term hold wealth generators since they are not only BTC miners and they diversify their business? I'm leaning towards that thinking as well. I think that if CleanSpark, IREN, Cipher, and others diversify and they potentially make maybe more revenue from HPC AI, and it's more steady revenue, that they may be insulated from the dynamics of Bitcoin and Bitcoin halvings going forward here, at least to a certain extent. I wouldn't expect them to drop down, you know, 60, 70, 80% when the halvings come around. Let's see. Yeah, Mark said pretty much the same thing. I believe so. They need to generate revenue from it first. Yeah. John Smith, hey Seb, do you think the Oracle's report of them struggling to make a profit renting out NVIDIA's chips gives cause for concerns for IREN making a healthy profit going forward? Well, you got to build out the data centers, right? Whether it's Horizon 1, Horizon 2, whatever, the costs are going to be associated with that as well. So there's going to be some maybe not as great profit margins in the beginning as you're building out these sites, but eventually once those sites are paid for, you should have less, obviously, depreciation in that point. And I mean, after that, you should be making more money. That's at least my understanding of it. Correct me if I'm wrong there. All right. Bev Neat picked up a small miner today, DMG at 55 cents. It can at least do $1.52, 2 to 3x easy. It's definitely potential there. Yeah. All of these guys here are getting a little bit re-rated there. HB, sorry, new to the channel. What does hash rate mean? Hash rate mean, oh my gosh, we could go down the rabbit hole on this one. So hash rate is the amount of a single ASIC for mining Bitcoin has. So right now they're averaging between 230 terahash and like 300 some odd terahash. So that's a hash rate there. Hash rate is the speed at which these Bitcoin mining machines try to solve the algorithm puzzle there and get a block reward on it. The overall network hash rate there, which is a combination of all of these machines around the world that are plugged into the network, that is the overall global network hash rate, which is now at 1 zettahash something, right? It's much higher. But do a quick Google search or, you know, ask Grok, ask Gemini, ask OpenAI or anybody of those AI agents, and they'll be able to explain it to you much better and much faster than I can, but there's a lot that goes into it. All right. Gary, great thing about Chris is there were two of them, but you could always agree with one of them because they always said the opposite things. That is true. Guy, do you still plan on holding if CleanSpark hits $25 this month? Yeah, I would continue because I think this rally is going to continue a little bit longer here. All right. Ghost in the 90s, what is your price target if CleanSpark announces HPC deal? What kind of deal? Is it a co-location deal or is it actual customers for their Neo Cloud business? That's going to depend on that. But it also depends on the type of the deal, the size of the deal, the amount of the deal. There's a lot of things that go into it here, but absolutely much higher from where they are right now. All right. Guy asks, what's your price target, CleanSpark without HPC this year? If they don't get anything HPC, they're still, I have them right now, just for the Bitcoin mining side of things, they should be already much higher from where they are. If we look at it here, actually down here, I'm between $22 and $34, and that's with a PE of 15, right, which is reduced. I'm giving a little bit of a higher premium to the miners that have AI deals or AI customers. So that's 22 to 79 to 34.19 roughly is where I think they should be. They're at $17, so I still think they're undervalued from where they really, really should be compared to their peers. We can see that also on some of the other metrics that we check here, which is also on the enterprise metrics, I believe. Yeah, you can see here, CleanSpark right now for the current hash rate is only at 88 million, right? You got IREN at 347 million per exahash. Big difference there. Obviously, IREN's getting more valued on the HPCI potential than CleanSpark is right now. So if that does, even if they get to half that point, they should be much higher in price than where they are right now. That's just my 2 cents on it. All right. Talked about that one. Let's see. Mr. Meaner 3000, how do you think Riot will do? Are they the red-headed stepchild of the miners? They're the red-headed stepchild of the miners because of, one, operationally, they haven't been that great in the past, and then also their compensation to their management team has been outrageous, last couple of years here. So I think, but it's still doing actually pretty good here compared to where it was. So it's come up here with the maybe anticipation of an HPC deal for some megawatts that they have available, but I just don't know how they'll do. I think right now they're pretty well valued to what I have them at. Let me see, where's Riot right now? Riot, if we look at them right now, I have them between 1226 and 1839. They're at 2147, so they're even more valued than where I have them at on Bitcoin production. So they're being more valued on their HPCI potential than anything else right now. That's just the way I see it. Okay. Okay. Victor C. Let's see. Fairfax is my target for CleanSpark is $32, which is great, much higher from where we are. Victor C. Which one is more undervalued, Cipher or CleanSpark? Thanks. Right now, I think it's CleanSpark actually. But then again, if Cipher gets more deals, right, gets more revenue, it could definitely become more undervalued at that point. All right. why Bitfarms is faltering, i.e. going in 1 day up and 2 days down or sideways, although the volume is increasing. Do you see any risk in the short term? Short term, the only thing that I can think of risk-wise would be the PJM interconnect there that they're trying to get, and I think there's some rulings that they're waiting on as well on that. If that doesn't go through, that would be the only thing that I would see, but that might be a longer-term deal than not. But that's the only thing I can think of right now. And then possibly they're not getting a deal with anybody for their megawatts they have available. That could be a bad thing there also. But we all are hoping that they will get something because they do have a great site in Pennsylvania, a couple of great sites in Pennsylvania, which are located in nice geographic areas that have a lot of people in that area, right? Huge populations. So we'll see. All right, Senketh, took my profits from Bitfarms and moved into Canon at $1.30. What other miners like Soluna should I watch for good entry points? Any suggestions? Obviously, if you're going that route, look at the smaller miners that are less than $100 million market cap, right? So you got, honestly, I would probably stay away from Annie or Argo. I would probably stay away from those, but you never know. Those things have run up here within, hugely a day or so. So look at those, but that's really risky as it is already. All right, the boss says, bought Terrorwolf at 2. That's awesome. So you're doing very nice there. Are you still holding on to the shares there? And then Gary, CoreWeave has huge debts and dramatically decreasing profits down from 20% in Q1 to 2% in Q2. They probably won't be profitable until 2028. Most of the miners are old hoppers, yet they are valued at $70 billion. But IREN is better than CoreWeave. I would agree there. Drago says IREN is number 1. Mr. Fancy question said, what's What is your take on DMG? Anthony and Bryce seem very bullish on them. Thoughts? Small miner, I would have to probably take a look at them a little bit closer. Other than, I know that they're small. They've been historically a pretty good operator when it comes to operating Bitcoin, but man, they're small. I know that they're trying to get something for HPCI. That's all I know. I would have to look more into them, to be honest with you. But being small may work out in their favor. So I'm not going to take that away from them. But I would just be cautious with all those companies that are small. They're small for reasons, right? Take a look at their balance sheets. Take a look at their cash positions. Look at all that stuff. Do your due diligence on those guys. All right. Gary says, I agree. IREN is best, but their value at 15 billion compared to CoreWeave is stupid. Yeah, I would agree with you there. And then Kenny Keith, question, hi Seb. You may have covered this already, but what do you know about CleanSpark current transition to AI HPC? Do you think they are going to start developing sites that are as good as IREN Cipher? Well, good as, are you talking about megawatts or just location? I mean, CleanSpark has a lot of locations, right? They have 33 different sites. So I would imagine a portion of those sites could be really good opportunities for HPCI there. And then they're also working on, again, I'm using the term pipeline of 1.7 gigawatts of potential energy, right? It's, to me, a pipeline is a pipe dream until you actually sign those contracts there. So they do have potential there, just like others have potential, but signing those contracts is going to be the most important thing there to grow further. Now, the sites that they do have, like I said, 33 sites, some of those sites could be used, right? They have a great site there are 2 sites in Atlanta, Georgia, which are close to obviously a huge metropolitan area there as well. So there's possibilities there. And I think one of those sites is also a previous data center that they converted into immersion cooling for Bitcoin mining there, which they could convert back into a regular data center if they wanted to, I guess, within a pretty short order of time as well. So there's a lot of good things happening for them. They've obviously transitioned after letting Zach go as the CEO. And Matt is obviously looking to get into HPCI more so, which is nice to see. So we'll see. It's all early stages for them, right? But the path is ahead of them. Again, they were like one of the last miners to go into Bitcoin mining, right, in 2021, right? So, and they came out to be, one of the top miners here, one of the top 2 or 3 miners. So I wouldn't put anything past them right now. All right. Bias, what are your second and third biggest miners after IREN? For me, it's CleanSpark for miner-wise. And then you'd probably have Cipher in there as well, right? I think Cipher's doing pretty good. Obviously, you got Wolf after that as well. I mean, all of these guys here. If you're looking at just straight Bitcoin miners, I would say IREN, CleanSpark, and then probably Hive, to be honest with you guys here. Hive, obviously, their operations have been always fantastic here. They're getting to 25 exahash. Has actually worked out pretty well for them. All right, SH, OpenAI is Canada for artificial intelligence data center capacity. Bitfarms has few locations in Canada, so does Hive, right? Hive has some sites there as well. And then also Hut 8 has some power plants and some data centers as well in Canada also. All right, Gary asks, why is CleanSpark being so quiet on their announced 60 exahash expansion a year is moving along? Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, but we do have 3 more, right? October, November, yeah, 3 more months to go. So maybe we'll hear something later on. B2C CleanSpark, like Ben mentioned, later mover advantage. That's not always what was I trying to say? That's not always the case, right? Sometimes it is the case, right? We saw, best example that I can think of is Apple, right? Late mover advantage. They see what the market is putting out there, doing, and then they do their own spin on it, and they come out on top. So you saw that with the iPod, you saw that with the iPhone, obviously, as well. And they dominated those markets while they got into them. So, yeah, never say never. Okay, guys, says CleanSpark 1827 right now. Looks like it may pump tonight. That's great. All right, the Asian dietitian. Do you think CORZ is overvalued now, or stock price still has a lot of appreciation potential? It's my biggest holdings in my portfolio. Okay, so CORZ can go up a little bit more. It's obviously tied to CoreWeave stock price. So it can go up if CoreWeave goes up more so until the deal is set and done and, they get bought out by CoreWeave. So I don't think it has too much more room to run, but it can go up a little bit more here. All right. Do you think I should sell and buy another more valued BTC miner? Which one? That's going to be your call. I can only say that I think, so let's rewind that a little bit. So let's say that the deal does go through with CoreWeave and Core Scientific getting bought out, right? At that point, you would get shares of CoreWeave. So then do you believe CoreWeave has much more room to run, or it doesn't? And then do some of the other miners have potential to run up more higher? So you got to weigh those options. And I can't tell you one way or the other. You have to do that on your own, actually, right? But I think that's it. I think we've come to all the questions here. We're going on almost an hour, so that's not too bad. We're doing pretty good. Okay, that is it. Thank you all so much for coming in here, as always. We run this kind of late here, and we'll see where tomorrow brings us, right? So far, it's been a really, really nice journey over the last probably, 2 months or so with the miners. They've done a fantastic job here. We've obviously been rewarded handsomely for a lot of us that have been holding on for the last 2 to 3 years even. All right, and I got a couple more comments coming in here. Gary, it took IREN a year working with NeoCloud before they went all in. If anyone's thinking of being a NeoCloud like IREN, it's a long path. Yeah, it's not an easy path. I agree with you there. I say just to comment on your answer about Bitfarms, hyperscalers, and analysts agree that if you have the energy, then the rest of the approvals and legality are the easiest to handle. Bitfarms will be okay. Okay, that's good. And then Smitty here, if Bitcoin hits 200,000, what would the price be for CleanSpark, IREN, Cipher? This should be at least obviously double from where they are right now, just based on that information. But IREN has already gone up so much; it's being valued more on HPCI, so that shouldn't affect it that much, but it will help. So that's kind of where I would see things. And Toronto, I'm late. We'll have to watch 1.5x speed. Man, that's awesome. If you can watch it at that speed. A lot of people complain that I talk too fast already as it is, but we'll see. But thanks for coming in so much, as always. Smitty, as well as Bitfarms. Yeah, I mean, Bitfarms should be obviously much higher from where it is already as it is. So $10 to $15 is kind of where I would see it at that point, possibly even higher. All right, that's it. Love you all. I will see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully you guys have a great, what's tomorrow? Wednesday, hump day, middle of the week. Hope you guys have a great Wednesday. All right. Wish you guys well. I'll see you guys then.